All right, guys, so standard 24, last set of notes here before break. We have a few more formulas. You can see them on your pink sheet or go ahead and look up here. First one, sine of theta over 2. You guys are in.
It was really funny.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, last notes of the year, you guys like to use.
Last notes of
the decade.
Ooh, last notes of the decade.
Last notes of the decade.
I like that.
Last notes of the 2020 year period span.
All right, guys, there's a plus or minus there. I don't know why my little...
2019, 2019.
All right, plus or minus, big square root, 1 minus cosine theta all over 2. Clearly not the funnest formula, but we'll make it work. These are called your half angle formulas. John, guys, you ready? All right, so first example here, sine of 22.5 degrees. 22.5 degrees is clearly not something we just know from our unit circle, right? Okay, so first thing we have to do, so step 1, decide on the plus or the minus, okay? So let's look at the angle we're actually talking about, 22.5 degrees. Where is this? Like what quadrant is it in? First quadrant. Is sine positive or negative in the first quadrant? Okay, so step 1, we have made our decision. It is positive. And then I'm just rewriting the formula. Make sense how we decide plus or minus? Okay. Step 2. Find theta. All right, so this 22.5, that is my theta over 2. So we'll do this off to the side here. Does that make sense? Sine of theta over 2, and then here I have sine of 22.5. Those are, yeah, okay, that's what we're looking for. How could I solve for theta? Multiply by 2, all right. What is 22.5 times 2? Is that maybe something we know about? Okay, every time you find theta, it should be an angle that you actually know from your unit circle. All right, third step. Use theta in the formula. So we found theta, now we gotta just go plug it in over here. It doesn't matter if you write the plus in front on every step. We know it's a positive even if nothing's there. If you pick negative, make sure you include that all the way through. So I now have 1 minus the cosine of 45 degrees all over 2. Okay, now we're just going to simplify this. So 1 minus, what is the cosine of 45 degrees? Root 2 over 2, good. And then this is still all over 2, all still under the square root, okay? I am running out of room, so I'll go up here. All right, it's kind of ugly right now. I need to combine the 1 minus root 2 over 2. What do I need to do that? Yeah, change the 1 to 2 over 2, right? Okay, so my next step, there are so many 2's, yeah. So it's 2 minus root 2 over 2, all over 2. Make sure you're with me to that point. Okay, this 2 is the very bottom 2. Could I put that as 2 over 1? Yes. Yeah, that's okay, right? So now do you guys see I have a fraction divided by a fraction? So what will I actually do? Flip and multiply, right? So I've got 2 minus root 2 all over 2 times 1 over 2. We're almost there, I promise. All right. The next step you can skip, but I want to show you what's happening. So this is 2 minus root 2 all over 4. Can I take the square root of 4? Yes. So now the numerator is under the square root, so 2 minus root 2 over just a normal 2. That is your actual answer. Okay. Make a little ugly, I know. Yep, step 1, you have to pick, is it positive or is it negative? Okay. Are we okay with all of that simplifying throughout? Okay, it's tedious, I know, but it's not that bad. Okay, so that was using the sine formula. Now we get to use cosine of a half angle. So let's write our next formula. Very similar. Plus or minus big square root 1 plus cosine theta all over 2. All right, so the example here, does this look the same as the first one, or does this look like a totally different type of problem? Totally different type of problem. Okay, so I can ask you these questions in 2 different ways. The first one, I gave you a very specific angle. I said find the sine of 22.5 degrees. Okay, you knew exactly where that was. It's one angle. The second one, all I tell you is that cosine of our angle is 8 over, ooh, I don't want to change it because 8 over 17 is kind of ridiculous. And it's in quadrant 4. So let's change this to 3 over 5 just to make our lives a little easier here. And our theta is in quadrant 4. Anytime I give you information like that, what do you know you need to do? Draw a triangle. Good. Put a little grid over here. Okay, and we'll be in the 4th quadrant, right? There's theta. Cosine's 3 over 5, so that means adjacent is 3, hypotenuse is 5. Do you know what the other side of that triangle is going to be? -4. Yes, don't miss the sign. It is -4. Okay. This is where this is a little different than the first one. So I know theta is in the 4th quadrant, which means it's somewhere between 270 degrees and 360 degrees, right? Like, you guys agree that that's what the 4th quadrant is? Does that make sense to you? Okay. So it's somewhere in between there. I don't know where. So I'm going to pick a random angle in between 270 and 360. Anybody have an angle that would be easy? What? 300. I like that. So let's pretend theta equals, give myself an upward. Yes. Okay, theta equals 300 degrees. What would theta over 2 equal then? 150, right? Okay, where is 150 degrees? Quadrant 2. Okay, we all right with that? Okay, let me stop there for a second, make sure you guys are with me. Okay, this determines the plus or the minus. You were given information about theta. You can use that to figure out where theta over 2 is, because I'm asking you about the cosine of theta over 2. So what do you think? Am I going to pick positive or am I going to pick negative? Negative. Okay. Theta over 2 is in the second quadrant. Cosine in the second quadrant, negative, right? Okay, so negative, and then I'll write my formula. Okay, we're now done with this whole thinking about theta over 2 being second quadrant, pretending all of that. We've made our decision on the sign. Now we are just using theta in the formula. Okay? Right? You guys see theta in the formula and theta in my triangle? Those two go together. So I'm going to have negative big square root 1 plus, well, what is the cosine of theta? Just looking at the triangle, what is it? 3 over 5, right? It's been given to you in the problem. Okay. And then that is all over 2. And now we are just simplifying fractions from here, okay? What do I need to make the 1? Negative big square root 8 over 5 over 2 over 1. Yes, because otherwise you're going to forget and not have your negative. All right, so dividing by a fraction means 8 over 5 times 1 over 2. Before I multiply, could I simplify this? Yeah, how many times does 2 go into 8? 4. Okay, we're almost there. Negative. Okay, remember when it's square root of a fraction, that's really just square root of the numerator over square root of the denominator. So what's the square root of 4? So it's really negative 2 over root 5. Can I leave it like that? Now we got to rationalize. So your final answer here is negative 2 root 5 over 5. Okay, at the end there? Yeah. Did you multiply first and then deal with root 10 and all that? Yep. You'll still get there. It's just the long route. Okay, so do we understand 2 totally different kinds of problems? First type is when I give you an actual angle. Second type is when I tell you something where you have to draw the triangle. Both cases you have to pick positive or negative, but 2 different routes to get there. All right, turn the page when you're ready. We still have tangent to deal with, of course. I'm going to give you the pink formula sheet on all your assessments, basically, for the rest of the quarter. So, like, the more familiar you are with it, the easier it is to use, but I'm not going to just make you regurgitate. If we do end up giving you some sort of formula quiz, I'll give you plenty of warning on that. Yeah, it's what I've always done in the past, but obviously the cheers are out for grading stuff, so we'll see. All right, so tangent theta over 2, plus or minus again. And then it's actually a combination of sine over cosine, which simplifies to 1 minus cosine of theta. Not right today, guys. Over 1 plus cosine theta. All right, tangent of 5 pi over 8. Okay, is it like question 1 where I gave you an angle, or is it like question 2 where you have to draw a triangle? Question 1, is there stuff there to draw a triangle? Oh, I don't tell you any of that stuff. So I am asking you tangent of 5 pi over 8. So remember, you start with, where is 5 pi over 8? What quadrant do you think 5 pi over 8 is in? Second quadrant. How do you know that? You're right. But why? Yeah, it's a little more than half, right? 4 pi over 8 would be up at the top. 8 pi over 8 would be over at pi. Okay, so second quadrant. And remember, you then use that to decide positive or negative. So what do you think? Is tangent, because that's what we're talking about, positive or negative in the second quadrant? Negative, okay. So I've got negative, big square root, 1 minus cosine theta over 1 plus cosine theta. What do we have to find next? Theta, find theta, okay. Remember, the angle you're given, this 5 pi over 8, that is theta over 2. So how do I solve for theta? Okay. What do I get for theta? Don't tell me 10 pi over 8. What do I get? 5 pi over 4, good. Is that something you know from your unit circle? Yeah, okay, good. It needs to be. All right, so we've done all the finding of things. Now we just have to plug in and simplify. So negative, big square root, 1 minus, well, what's the cosine of 5 pi over 4? Can we just jump to that? What'd you say? Root 2 over 2? Negative root 2 over 2, good. Be careful with those signs, guys. Over, and then do 1 plus a negative root 2 over 2. What do I need to turn both of my 1's into? 2 over 2. So super pretty. I've got 2 minus root 2. I'm sorry, that'd be 2 plus root 2, right? Minus a negative. All over 2 over 2 minus root 2 all over 2. That's lovely. Do you guys see what's going to happen? I am fine with you not writing that out again, showing the flipping. What's going to happen when I flip this? What? Does everything cancel? Let's write it out. So I would have 2 plus root 2 over 2 times 2 over 2 minus root 2. Something cancels, but not everything. I know. The 2's. Great, which 2's? This 2 and this 2? Yes, okay. We now have negative, big square root, 2 plus root 2 over 2 minus root 2. Okay. Does anything else cancel? where you guys aren't quite sure sometimes. Is there a factor I could pull out of a 2 and a root 2? Like, can I factor that? You can't take a 2 out because one's under the radical. So you can't do anything. And they have different signs, so it's not like, oh, I can just cross out the 2's and cross out the root 2's, and somehow that's -1. Now, guys, think if you had, like, 2 plus 5 over 2 minus 5. Can you cross out the 2's and the 5's? You cannot, because isn't this really 7 over -3? Not -1? Okay.
We just got five.
Oh, are we okay? Oh, like why did we get 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just making up a
Yeah.
problem with numbers so you can actually see it. So that now you know you can't do what you wanted to do. Okay. So, you're done. I'm not going to make you rationalize a radical under a radical. Okay? So, yes. You can do it, but it's pretty ugly with conjugates and, yeah. It's gross, yes. Okay. Questions? It's somewhat procedural, but the first step of figuring out like which type of problem I'm looking at and which process I should follow. I think that's what's the hardest for you guys. So let's try one of these down here. Let's try, sure, we'll do number 1. Cosine of 75. So you guys try this one. Like question 1 or question 2? 1. No, I did it wrong. I did it wrong. Are you picking positive or negative, guys? And did you find theta? Yes. What is it? 150. Okay, good. Keep going. Okay. So.
Why is it like twice? Just seems to.
Because it's like, once you're not measuring,
Right here.
yeah. Because once you get 4, you need to take a square of 4.
Oh, so just
Yeah.
And that's when he does it, it's a video. Yeah, yeah, no. I don't even want to do that. Oh, wait, so that's inside. Yes.
Have you guys done house homework? So like,
So.
You did it? You guys agree?
I might be wrong.
Okay. Let me start going through.
I got that. I just took the script. I forgot to.
All right, guys, there's your answer.
yes.
Yes? Yay? What? In front? Like outside the square? No, okay. It's all for the original, so cosine of 75. Don't do cosine of 150 because that's not what I'm asking. You use that throughout the problem, but the question is actually asking you cosine 75. So it's 200. Okay, guys. We are stopping there. So you're. I'll do it here in a second. I don't know it off the top of my head. Remember you had homework and it was 23 and 24 together. Okay? It's basically to finish that. So do those 3 problems in the middle. So 4 through 6.
And 9.
And then on the back, the 4 at the bottom. What are the numbers of those? Okay. You don't have to do the others, okay? So you're almost finishing the homework. So if you didn't do 23, go ahead and work on those too. All right.